Go ahead, sir.
Chester Cheetah.
All right, guys. Today we're going to review a few of the things we learned last time about ignition systems. And today we're going to go out and practice kind of what we learned out in the shop. First of all, who can tell me what this part is right here?
Coil pack.
Coil pack, correct. What's this part here?
Module.
Module. How about this one?
The cop.
What does COP stand for?
Coil on pack.
Coil on plug. Coil on plug, because the coil's mounted right on the spark plug. This one?
Coil pack.
Coil pack, right. What's this called?
Distributor.
All right. Let's keep it quiet, girls. What's this one called? Distributor cap, okay. And this one that rotates inside there?
Rotor.
The rotor. And what would this be called?
The coil.
Who can tell me what the purpose of a coil is?
The coil multiplies the amps from 12 to, the volts, 12 to 50.
To 50,000 actually, okay? 50,000 volts, all right? So we're not messing around. All right, today we learned all those items. Today we're going to go out into the shop. We're going to stay in our teams. You guys all know the 5 teams you're on. We're going to go out in the shop and test our knowledge on these ignition components. We're going to practice diagnosing ignition components and replacing some ignition components. Team 1, you're going to be on the Ford Escort. You're going to replace the spark plugs. You'll find the spark plug gap for that car on the underhood sticker on the decal, okay? Team 2, you're going to be on the Ford Probe. You're going to inspect the cap and the rotor. You're going to follow procedure 3 on the back side of your worksheet. Okay, just go step by step. Everything should be there. Team 3 is going to be with me on the RX-7. We're going to show you how to test an ignition system with simple tools. We're going to have a screwdriver and we're going to have a test light, and that's it. Okay? So you just check with me on Team 3. Team 4 is on the Ford Contour. It doesn't have the underhood sticker with the spark plug gap. You're going to replace the plugs. Set the gap at 42 thousandths of an inch on that one. Okay. Team 5 is an engine back in the corner of the shop on a stand. It's a 6-cylinder engine in line. The distributor wires are laying on the engine stand. You're going to put those wires in place on the distributor cap and on the correct spark plug. I'm going to come over and check when you're done to see if you've done it correctly. The car you're setting it up for is a 74 Maverick with a 200 cubic inch motor. Okay, now remember, when you're out in the shop, we're working with the ignition system. The ignition system, as we stated, jumps the voltage from 12 volts up to 50,000 volts. If you're not careful back in the shop and you touch something at the wrong time, something like this could happen. All right? So we don't want to get sparks. Let's go out and get our shop glasses on and get out in the shop. All right? All right, let's move. All right, guys, I got out here this morning and my car wouldn't start, all right? So I found out I have plenty of fuel. I can hear the fuel pump running. I can see fuel in the carburetor. So I think maybe I'm not getting a spark. I got a screwdriver. It's the only tool I have in my toolbox. And a test light. You guys remember how I said we could check for spark? You could reach out and grab the wire and see if it shocks you. That's not a lot of fun, right? Anybody remember? We're going to take the screwdriver. We're going to take one of the spark plug wires and put a screwdriver in it. Okay, and we're going to hold the screwdriver close to the ground, and we're going to look for a spark to jump. When do you guys hold that? Now, don't touch anything metal, and only hold the handle of the screwdriver. I'll crank it over, put it about a quarter of an inch away. I'll crank it over, and you tell me if you see a spark jump. You ready? Okay, don't lean on the car, though. Okay, you ready? Hold on a minute. Nope. Okay, no spark there. Alright, the next thing, we have no spark in the spark plug. The next thing we want to check is to see if we have a spark coming from the coil itself. Okay, we're going to take the coil wire and do the same thing. I put these vice grips up here so you'll have an easy place to hook it to ground. So one of you hold this like that without touching anything and let it jump. It'll jump to the vice grips, alright? Oh. Yeah? Got lots of spark? Alright, so if we have spark at the coil but no spark down at the spark plug, that means something's blocking its path or has an open circuit. If you'll notice, I have the distributor cap taken off of the car so that we have normally the spark would go into the top and then out the distributor cap to each of the wires. Okay, so that's where our open. Now, if you had no spark whatsoever, coil or spark plug, your next step would be to get a test light. It's a regular 12-volt test light, and we're going to see if our coil is getting a signal telling it when to spark. Okay. Notice the coil has two terminals on it, besides the coil wire. This one should be power when the key's on. This one should give us our signal, which is a blinking signal. Power on, power off, power on, power off. One of you other guys come up here and probe the test light while I check. I'm going to turn the key on, check the first one. The one that's on this side, key on. Now, we got power?
Yes.
Okay, check the other side. I'm going to crank it over.
Yes.
Okay, so that signal with that light blinking indicates the coil is getting a signal telling it to spark. Alright? Now, if you had power to your coil and a signal, but you still got no spark out of your coil, anyone want to guess what that would be? No. Think about back when we did electrical, we had a light bulb that didn't light. We had power to it and a ground to it, but the light bulb didn't light. What was wrong then? The light bulb, right? So if we have power to our coil and a signal telling our coil to spark and it doesn't spark, what do you think's wrong? The coil, right? Yeah, it has to be the coil itself. All right. We talked about the first type of ignition systems, the kind with the contact points. Okay, this is a switch opening and closing, telling the coil when to spark. Those contact points are right back in here. You guys see this little copper thing right back in here? That's actually the points. I'm actually springing them open with my test light. Okay? So those points are going to open 8 times every time the distributor turns around once. All right? And every time it sparks, or it opens, it's going to send a signal to the coil, telling the coil to spark. And the coil is going to send a spark from the spark plug wire to the distributor cap, and the rotor, which is right here, is going to rotate around and send that spark to each one of the spark plug wires in order. Okay. I'm going to crank it over. You guys look down there this time. Pay attention to the points down here, opening and closing, and also to the rotor that's going to rotate to distribute our spark. All right. All right. Did you see them? Now they didn't open very far, did they? Maybe. I think the spec on this car is 17 thousandths of an inch. That's not a very big gap. All right. Okay, you guys understand that? If your car won't start one morning, you can check the ignition system. All right, you guys hang tight here for a second. I'm going to check on the other groups, and then we'll rotate through. All right? All right, how many plugs you guys have done? It's stuck down in there? It's not out yet. Better do this first, and then take it out, all right? We'll be back to check in a minute. All right, how many plugs?
About ready to go.
How many plugs do you want back in? Did you set the gap on? Yeah. All right. All right, you guys ready for me to check in? No problem. I know there's one wire missing, so use the coil wire as number 3, right? All right, let's check it out. Which diagram did you use? This one here? So this should be, this is it. This should be number 1 right here. Number 5, 3, 6, 2. Right? 1, 5, 3, 6, 2. Oh, one more. 4. All right, you got it right. Okay, take it back apart for the next group to come over and try it, all right?
Question.
Yeah.
What was the most recent?
Cop. Remember the coil on the plug?
Okay. And then
Cop
what's
system.
the advantage to having the
No points to wear out. You don't have those points that are opening and closing. All right? All right, let's check on the probe. Use this. All right, did you guys get that distributor cap off? You looked inside?
Yeah.
You put it back on?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to rotate in about 2 more minutes, all right?
Okay.
You got your bottom screw started already? You didn't lose it. Before you tighten the top one all the way up, start the bottom one. All right? students is threefold. First, we discussed the principles of operation of the different components of a car. Today we did ignition systems. We actually covered that on the lesson on the day previous to this. Okay, the second phase is we demonstrate how the parts work. We set up a little demonstration on the desk here. We showed them how the distributor turns, how it creates a signal to the coil. The coil then sends a spark to the distributor cap. The distributor cap sends it down to the spark plugs. So we demonstrate. The third fold area is where we get the students actually to get their hands dirty, touching the cars. We had students out today testing distributors and ignition systems, replacing spark plugs on cars, checking the cap and rotor, and we also had a group installing spark plug wires. So teach them, show them, and then let them practice themselves. The way we get the students involved, a lot of students like to have hands on the car. I have a lot of kids that won't do a worksheet, like we handed a worksheet out with an assignment today. A lot of kids don't really like that. They don't like reading the book, but when they actually get out on the car and touch the cars, get their hands dirty, and I think they learn a lot better. So that's my strategy for getting the kids involved. How do we assess the students? Today, we did a simple assessment. We walked around to each group to see if they did it right, see if they changed the spark plugs right, see if the spark plug wires were in the correct order, see if they were following the procedure to replace the cap and rotor. We'll follow up this when they come back next Tuesday. We'll have a little quiz on ignition systems and make sure they know all the components and know the function of each component. And that's all I got, so have a great day.